Hey guys, welcome back. Orbomb here, bringing you another one of our live deck profiles. Today we're showcasing Alolan Muck GX Tag Team. This is actually something that I thought was really interesting, and I've never been a huge fan of playing poison decks at all, to be honest. I always thought they were bad. And this deck, it's not like the... Let me rephrase this. I kind of feel like the GX attack is one of the most redeeming factors of this card. It's just so strong. Before we get into the video, don't forget to drop a like. The like button is just, it's falling and it needs you to click it to make sure it goes back up. All right, don't forget to hit that like button. I greatly appreciate it. Answer the comment question of the day being, do you guys want to see more Alolan? Like tag team Pokemon? I think it'd be really cool. Like imagine a Ninetales Alolan Ninetales tag team. That sounds so lit. I know it doesn't really work because they don't have the same typing. Is there any other Alolan Pokemon that have the same typing as the other one? I can't think of any off the top of my head. Whatever, I'll probably think of it. I guess you could do Geodude, right? Because they're both rock types. So you could make a fighting type Golem, Alolan Golem. That could be really cool, actually. I would love to see something like that. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see that for a chance to win a couple of codes. And let's just hop right into this video. All right, so we are playing, oh, and I want to say this one more time because I always get people saying, like, oh, you spend a lot of money, but you don't have money, is because like I'm like relatively broke just because of like school and work is really slow right now and stuff like that. Keep in mind, the majority of these cards, I either pulled myself whenever I was doing booster boxes for bulk. So I never actually bought a booster box before, or two were gifts from the subscribers, from you lovely people. And I don't want to just, and like people always just like sell the deck and you'll make a lot of money, but like I don't want to do that. It seems really rude, you know? I don't like selling gifts that people give me, and it's really nice having like a max rarity deck because I don't know, it's my favorite game, so it just feels nice. Anyways, we are playing two Muck GXs, tag team GXs. It's got a couple attacks. Bad Poison, relatively easy to set up with a DC Psychic Energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, put 8 damage counters on that Pokemon between turns, I believe is what it says. Yeah. So, it's a pretty decent. You could obviously play, there's a lot of different ways to play this. You can play this with Sevipers, or not Sevipers. Yeah, it is a Viper, right? That increases poison damage by 1. That doesn't seem too bad. The problem is that's a lot of bench space for only 1 extra damage output. Now, keep in mind that the 1 extra damage output is a difference between doing 160 damage and 180 damage between turns, so that could be really good. I'm currently not playing Sevipers because I like the consistency of Malamar in this deck, so I'm playing it with Malamar. And I'm playing with a 4/4 line, like a really thick line, because I found that if I play it as less than a 4/4 line, it's almost impossible to get out the Malamars consistently all the time. So that's why I'm playing it with a 4/4 line of Malamar, because the primary attack I want to get off turn 1 is actually Sticky Mix GX. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and paralyzed. Now, doing that early means that they're forced to play a Guzma early game, or they're just forced to let their Pokemon get knocked out, because forcing them to play Guzma early game really disrupts their strategy, and it means that you can set up your board even more. So it's never good for your opponent to play Guzma early game. But they also don't want to get knocked out, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think it's a really, really strong GX attack, especially against like heavier Pokemon that they can't afford to make them lose prizes for and stuff like that. But keep in mind that if you have 4 extra energies attached to this Pokemon, so DCE, 2 Psychics, maybe even 2 DCEs, you do 15 damage between turns for poison. So that's 300 damage if they're paralyzed and they can't move. We have stadiums that can keep them poisoned even if they switch with an item card. I believe there's also a Pokemon that keeps them poisoned if they manually retreat, but we don't really care too much about that because they're gonna be paralyzed. They can't manually retreat anyways. So Sticky Mix GX is really, really, really strong. Like extremely strong if you pull it off early. And then Poison Cling does 120 damage and you can heal 100 damage if you're poisoned. It doesn't really do well. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because if you're doing bad poison and you're putting 80 damage between turns, they're probably going to be knocked out anyways if they stay on the board and stay poisoned. So Poison Chug being able to heal 100 damage when they're going to be knocked out already doesn't make too much sense to me. Like, think about it like this. If your opponent takes 80 damage, right, and they come back and take 80 more damage, and they're still active, they're still going to be poisoned, right? If they're still active, that means that if you pass your turn, they're going to be knocked out. Sure, you could use his attack, 120, but in almost every scenario, you're not going to want to be active again. So I would usually either play Acerola or retreat, which means this Poison Chug, this Poison Chug attack doesn't ever come into play for me, which is another reason why I don't like these poison cards. They're usually poorly designed, and this is an example of a poorly designed card. I literally love this card for its GX attack, and then the rest of the game I'm either using this and playing Acerola and putting damage on the board, or I'm playing it with Giratina. But the damage on the board is kind of cool because you can finish Pokemon off with Giratina's ability as well as just taking knockouts and stuff like that. So I think this deck is actually really good. Don't get me wrong. Even though I'm not a huge fan of like the poison strategy, the deck is still very strong. 4/4 Mally, and I mean, like, how could you not be strong when you're playing a Malamar deck? You know what I'm saying? Malamar is just really, really, really good. 2 Giratina, using the ability to finish off Pokemon that retreat onto the bench is really good. So I do like spamming Giratina in this deck. 1 Marshadow, 1 Mr. Mime. It's kind of important because that prevents your opponent from playing Acerolas, which is one way they would get out of the poison, and then the stadium wouldn't come into effect. So I'm talking about Dust Island. I'll go over the stadium when we get to it, but like having that Mr. Mime is really strong because you don't want your opponent to ever play Acerola. It's just that simple, not in a poison deck. And then only 1 Jirachi. Had to make space, so we're only playing 1. So yeah, that's it for the Pokemon line. I found that playing only 1 Jirachi has been working a lot for me because I like to build my decks to be consistent and not rely on Jirachi, but Jirachi is just such a strong asset to these decks that I don't feel like it's like a bad thing to use Jirachi. So I still build like a lot of supporters, a lot of consistency cards, and then add Jirachi on top of that instead of playing like 2 Jirachis and relying on it. That's my position as far as like playing Jirachi in Malamar decks go. 4/4 standard stuff. 2 Nest Balls, standard stuff. Just keeping the board as consistent as possible, getting out as many Pokemon as possible, and getting out as many Malamars as quickly as you can. 2 Switch for consistency. 1 Rescue Stretcher. 2 Escape Boards, and 1 Choice Band. Choice Band is just kind of nice. You can hit Lele's for knockout with Giratina if you snipe them 1 time. So having Choice Bands is pretty good. And then the stadium I was talking about earlier, 3 Dust Island. It's kind of hard to see, but there's 3 Dust Islands. Let me go over Dust Islands for you. If a player switches their poison active Pokemon with the effects of their own trainer card, so Guzma or Switch essentially, or Escape Rope, the new active Pokemon is now poison. If the poison damage has been altered by an effect, the effect is also applied to the new poison, which means that if their opponent switches and you have the GX attack on them, so 15 damage counters between turn, the new Pokemon will also be taking 15 damage counters between turns. So very, very strong stadium in this deck, especially if you're going to be focusing on poison, because your opponent can never really switch successfully outside of manually retreating. You could play another card you could put in here is Absol as another Pokemon. If you want to make it even harder for your opponent to manually switch, they would have to like attach extra energies, and that would force them to play cards like Guzma and Switch. So that's actually something I haven't really considered that you could throw in here, and I wouldn't even like mind it too much. So just an idea for you guys. I actually kind of like it too. The problem is, once again, do you have the bench space to be playing all of that stuff as well as Malamars? Now, I do want to say that you realistically only need 2 Malamars on your bench at one time, but then you have to have 1 Muck, probably a Giratina space, and you want Mr. Mime down, and then you're probably going to have Jirachi, Marshadow. You know, there's a lot of Pokemon that are going to be on your bench at a time, so it's kind of difficult to pull off plays like that. But honestly, I wouldn't mind playing the Absol either. Something to consider. Let's go, and that's going to be it for the trainers and items. And now for the supporters. Oh, I want to say there was a mistake here, but it's been working for me, so whatever. 4 Cynthia, of course. 4 Cynthia, 4 Lily, 3 Guzma. Now I will say this was supposed to be 2 Acerola. Apparently I put in the Erica instead. I didn't want to change it for the video because in the video I was playing the Erica instead of the 2 Acerola. I thought I was playing 2 Acerola, but I was wrong. I would drop the Erica for a 2nd Acerola. Something to keep in mind. But this is what I played in the video, so I figured it'd only be fair to showcase what I actually played in the video. I thought I put 2 Acerola in here. It's just like this is my Ultra Necro list. So in my Ultra Necro list, I play 1 Erica and apparently and 1 Acerola, and I thought I put in the 2nd one, but I never did, so it's whatever. Supporters, relatively standard, nothing too much to go over there. And then we are playing 9 Psychic Energies and 4 DCEs. Higher count of Psychic Energies because we're not playing Viridian Forest, so it's a lot more difficult to get them out early. but you realistically only need like 2 or 3 at a time. So having 9 means you can draw into them easier and then discard them with whatever means that you need to discard them with. And then 4 DCs because it's easy to attack with Muck when you have the DCs in the deck. But that's gonna be the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I think this deck's really cool. I think Muck has a lot of potential because you got to keep in mind, like, even though like I'm not a huge fan of the poison idea, you're still a 270 HP Pokemon, and even though you're weak to Psychic, you have access to your Giratina as your fallback that's relatively consistent and can also put damage on the board for you. Especially when you play 2, it's less likely that they're both prized, you know what I'm saying? So 270 HP means that you can heal, you can switch, Sticky Mix is just a really strong GX attack, things like that. Like, it almost guarantees a knockout every time. It's really, really cool. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you hate the deck? Do you love the deck? I know it's always like 50-50 when it comes to these style decks. Either people love playing Poison or people hate playing Poison. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. And I'm like, I understand where you guys are coming from. Don't forget to drop a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to all the good jazz, and I will see you guys next time with another match. Peace.